when we're taking on a website or you're visiting other contractors' websites, what's a common error that you see in their approach to, whether it's on website content or specifically in the blog? Is there one, two, or three things that you typically see where it's like, okay, this is a pervasive issue that roofing companies have?
Definitely, again, the language. So again, we're in an industry that I understand you might know what you're talking about. You are very knowledgeable about roofing, right? That's good. People want to see that.
Yeah.
But again, the average person doesn't know typical roofing terms like EPDM, TPO. They don't know what that means. I didn't know what that means when I started this job.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of people on their websites using terms and terminology that is going to make people click off your website because they have to go Google what that means. There's no further description. There's no further, it's just like, oh, you want a TPO roof? Well, here it is. Why do they want that? What are the benefits of it?
Right.
You want to give a little bit more context to pull people in. And sometimes there's nothing there to pull people in. It's just, hey, want a new roof? I can help you with that, but nothing else.
That's a good point.
Why do they want that roof? So you want to hit people's pain points, especially if there's something going on in terms of weather. I think if you're not taking advantage of the situations that's going around in your community, that's going around you, you're missing out on a huge thing. So one of the things we target a lot is weather. So if there's a hurricane, if there's a tornado, things like that, you want to make sure you're hitting those breaking news moments to pull people into your website. If you're not doing that, you're missing out on a whole group of people.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice, and getting ahead of it too, right? Like if we know that hurricane season traditionally starts in September down in Florida, and you're in Florida, write something preemptively as far as like, hey, how can you prep your house for a hurricane?
Yeah.
Like I've seen that content go out, and I'm like, yeah, I'm so proud of you guys. And just make sure, like situationally, it makes sense, because you'll see, like let's say roof shoveling content go out in May.
Yeah.
And, when I see this, when prospects come to us, I always scan their website. I'm taking a look, I'm doing an analysis, and I'm like, well, this is really good content, but why would you put out in May when all the snow's gone?
Yeah.
Don't you think people might be searching for that like 6 months ago? That would have been great to have there for them.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So in context is important. I think it's really hard when you're super knowledgeable about something.
Oh, 100%.
To be able to divorce yourself from that wisdom and remember what it was like before you knew all those things.
Yes.
So I think that be cognizant of that. And it's not just in creating your website content or video content. Salespeople, I think, can be guilty of this a lot. Anyone who's talked to me, I'm probably guilty of this more than anyone else. When we start talking about websites, SEO, Google Ads, I have to take a step back when we're talking terminology, because you know what? I'm like, I think to myself, he has no idea what I'm fucking talking about right now. Okay, so it's like this. Right?
Yeah. You got to break it down. Yeah.
Yeah. So really good stuff. Really good stuff. So what measures are taken to balance providing valuable, informative content and not making it feel super mundane? Like you said, we're talking about roofing, right? And roofing is not the sexiest thing to talk about. It's not the most exciting, exhilarating, clickbaity thing, right? So how do we create that experience for a homeowner where they don't dread going to the next line of content?
Oh yeah. I mean, again, it has to do with making it conversational, not just talking about the basics. You need to make them feel like they can trust you, that you're super knowledgeable, that you're someone that's welcoming and that's going to help them. And a lot of our content, we push that our clients are very customer centric focused, because they are. Yeah. So making people feel comfortable right off the bat, and making them feel that you're coming from the same place that they are, that you're coming from a place of wanting to help them. If our content's not doing that, they're not going to really gravitate towards it.
For those watching, just make the distinction between local SEO and SEO in general.
So SEO in general is a web page function web page ranking of organic web page results, which is becoming harder and harder because Google's pushing it further and further down the page. Local revolves around local businesses in local markets, whether they're searched for by local consumers or perhaps if you're in the tourism business, it might be a remote consumer, but they're looking for businesses in particular areas with a particular category or type of business. So typically you would see them represented on the Google front page with, when Google thinks a query is local, has local intent, they'll surface with a map and with 3 local results, and then you can click into the local finder or into the map to see more.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Sure.
I get people with poor prospecting, they DM me to optimize my Google business profile. And it's usually like, dear sir, madam, for $99, we can get you ranked in the top 3 in your map section inside of 30 days. It doesn't matter where you're servicing, where you're located. Is this something that's possible? Are there limits to exposure on local for a local brick and mortar company?
Yeah. So Google's algorithm is very interesting to me because it looks at density in a given, first thing is, let me back up. Proximity, relevance, prominence are the 3 attributes of the local. And it's a little bit different than organic because organic doesn't consider proximity anywhere near as much, although it does do to some extent. So proximity to the searcher, where is the business in relation to the person on their phone? Is the body of businesses are recommending relevant to the query, and which of those has the most prominence? So, and each of those are valued on a logarithmic scale. So to separate the weak from the strong, the logarithmic scale does that more quickly, right? So in any local search, Google understands the density of the businesses that match the relevance of the query and will show you a radius around the searcher that could be as little as 400, 500 yards, or it might be broader. It might be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 miles, depending on the density of the business you're in. So, but it is truly local, and it's in relationship to where Google thinks you are, where your desktop is based on your, how you're getting onto the internet, where your phone is, which it knows quite accurately, but it will surface results in relation to you.
So if let's say I'm 30 miles away, it's going to ping my IP probably that I'm using for internet, yeah? If I don't put any particular location.
Geomodifier, right.
So if I put a geomodifier in, will it then always serve me directly to that geomodifier that I'm searching for?
Yeah, it'll, if you type Buffalo, it'll then, instead of using you as the center of the search, it'll use the center of Buffalo as the center of the search and look in a radius around that, right? But most people who need roofing aren't in the center of Buffalo, right? The center of Buffalo is, some big federal buildings, right? So doing well on the search roofer Buffalo may or may not necessarily be that beneficial to somebody because the roofing jobs that you want are probably in Amherst or Williamsville or wherever, right?
How would you advise? Yeah, that makes sense. That's a very good point, actually. How would you advise a roofer? Let's say they're in Buffalo, right? But they want to be Williamsville. They want to be Amherst. They want to be Orchard Park. Are
they willing to invest in that? Or,
yeah, they're willing to invest but they don't want to work in the city. Would you ixnay targeting for the city and solely focus on the suburbs?
Well, if you're able to target where your customers are coming from, that's the critical question, right? Then you have to decide how much you're willing to invest to target that way. You can target with organic web pages, like you can create a web page for Williamsville, specifically around your services, perhaps we talked about this earlier in the green room, with reviews from people in Williamsville, that kind of thing. And you could create a unique landing page for Williamsville, a unique one for Amherst, whatever. So you could target it organically. You certainly can target it by zip with ads. But if you want to target with the local pack, which probably is getting the lion's share, now not always, you would probably have to open an office in that. You have to see what the radius of the search is, and you'd have to have an office in that search, within that search radius to show in the local pack. But, an office that might cost $200 or $400 or $500 a month might be worth it.
Yeah.
Right?
Especially in roofing.
Now, the the sort of curveball here is that Google knows what people respond to in virtually every vertical. So in verticals, for example, where local service ads are available and they have a Google guarantee and review stars and been in business for this many years and a nice picture, whatever they have in the local service ads, those might detract from the other. We've seen typically most consumers are ad averse. Right? They'll do a search in a given vertical. They'll say, I don't look at ads. But when local service ads are present, they frequently will go down the page and go back up to the local service ad because the local service ad has attributes that people are looking for. Review stars, pictures, guarantees, that sort of stuff. So it depends. Again, this goes back. You need to know what results are showing for any given geography and query so you understand how you might best compete for it. And it's probably some combination of those 4 things: local service ads, regular ads, local, and organic.
It's so funny because, I have that conversation with people. I'm like, look, attribution's not 100% clear. This is what it's saying we got you for.
Attribution is bullshit because Google wants to think it's all attributed to them. But, with their new algorithms, with nav boost and brand sort of acceleration, they get the last touch point, but they may or may not have generated the lead. You know? And they're very much about claiming to be the attributing source, when it might have been the billboard you have over 190.
Well, and that's the thing.
I do think more people will think that SEO is less valuable in certain ways.
Yes.
However,
that was my next prediction.
Oh shit, go for it.
Prick.
Go for it. I'm interested. How are we going to say this?
Yeah. So my second prediction is people will continue to buy into the narrative that SEO is dead, and as a result of that, they will lose opportunity. So, this has been something that's been expressed for the last decade. SEO is dead. This happened. Now there's more paid search. Now there's local services, so people aren't coming to the websites. People still ask me all the time, and they have for years, like, are you actually getting meaningful traffic? And I show them charts of our clients. Yes, we get traffic. But what does that mean as far as leads? So let's take a look at that. And then we dive into the leads that are filtered out by organic. And this person's getting 150, 200 leads a month. And I think that perspective will become more and more pervasive as years go on. It's been interesting because typically what I've found over the last decade of working in the contracting space, a lot of people aren't the early adopter of things. They like to wait and see. I think ChatGPT is exceptional, though. I think that a lot of people it's very attractive because it's like, you don't have to deal with guys like Mike or Tim or anybody else. You don't need a marketing agency. You can just do all this stuff yourself. And I think that you should take a step back. You should use ChatGPT, but there's also some things that if you rely solely on ChatGPT, don't have processes in place, and don't have somebody internally that know what they're doing, it could be just as equally hurtful as it can be harmful or helpful.
And another way it can be hurtful, I agree. It hurts also to waste somebody's time, a lot of time. Let's say you're just cranking out ChatGPT content, and I've seen this a lot where somebody's just like churning out stuff, but there's no targeting. So spend more of your time on targeting. The beauty of maybe getting rid of some of that busy work, and there's nothing wrong with using some ChatGPT for some content as long as you're modifying it a little bit and adding images and videos and doing some of the other on-page SEO stuff.
Alt attributes.
Once you do those things, if you don't have targeting, you're wasting a bunch of time on SEO and prioritization. And we know it well because we like to increase that traffic. We like it to go up, but we need to have a tight group of keywords or like topics, 10 to 20, like that we're really hammering, that are like money makers, right? Like we need to focus as much as we can. It's fun to focus on glamour metrics, but you and I both know, because we get our noses rubbed in it when it's not making them money.
Yeah.
And we do. Marketers are we're held accountable a lot. So we get our face rubbed in it when there's not money from the keywords. And so we know you need to prioritize the money makers. And to add to your point about people looking at the shiny object thing and like ChatGPT, not only to do SEO, but as a competitor to Google. Right now, it did beat out Bing as far as like market share. It's going to go up quick. It might even be as much as like 30% in the next 3 years of market share. That's an aggressive estimate, but it's a real thing, because I see people all the time when we would have Googled it, I look over and they're ChatGPTing it.
Yep.
So that's a real thing. One thing to note is all of the hard work. I don't know if you've seen this, where it's clients that have done a lot of hard work on SEO and they've worked with you for a while are showing up in ChatGPT results.
Yep.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's a beautiful thing. I sent a couple screenshots, and Christian, you could put these on screen on our side of the podcast.
You can throw it on our side.
Just a couple days ago of me searching locally and finding our clients as the number one roofer in this area. Yeah. And to your point, I'm going to give a tip to everybody watching. If you're doing in-house content, you're doing ChatGPT content, or you have a marketing agency doing content for you and you're not sure how they're developing the content, go to Google Search Console, check your index versus non-index pages. I come across people all the time. They've got 479 blogs. Not one of them are indexed. And what index means is it's actually showing up when people are searching somewhere on Google search engine result page or any other search engine. If you have 400, 500, 10, 1,000 blogs, but they're not indexed, that means that they're never going to show up in the search results, which means it's a complete wasted opportunity.
That's good. I know exactly the phenomenon that you're talking about. It's the shoveling shit SEO approach.
Yeah.
There's using ChatGPT and there's cleaning it up and there's making sure it's palatable and making sure that a human being will want to read it. And then and making sure it's targeted at something that people care about, and then there's just shoveling shit. And you got to figure out the difference.
Yeah.
It's not that thin of a line. You know what I mean? Like, it's a pretty big difference. Like when especially when you see somebody's putting out 400 words of content, there's no traffic on any of them. So that's something to watch out for. It's like probably low-end agencies that will come in thinking that automation and ChatGPT is like all you need. The problem is that you're competing with people that are doing serious marketing for humans. So we have to blend it together. We have to find a way to use the tool to get leverage, and then also make sure that we're marketing for humans. And that means, targeting the keywords, and that means kind of cleaning up the content a bit, basically. And I'm like totally gung ho on ChatGPT. I'm not gung ho on unfiltered 400 word blog posts, like hundreds of them.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.